Hi, welcome back to What Did You Learn? I'm Ahava and I'm very excited to have here the famous and brilliant Mark Schaefer. Mark is the author of many books, but his newest is The Cumulative Advantage. He's also a consultant, fabulous speaker. If you ever have the chance, definitely go hear him. And he's also a professor at Rutgers University, which is, of course, the university of my home state, New Jersey. Mark, welcome.
It's so nice to be here. Thanks for your kind words.
Of course, of course. Well, I want everybody to be excited. So, Mark, I know that you spent the last year writing this book, Cumulative Advantage. So, and you're also a fantastic watercolorist, which I did not know about you, but you recently posted something. So it was great to see. So tell us what the book is about, what caused you to write it, what you found in the process of writing it. Did the pandemic change your opinion and your hypothesis?
Every business is trying to answer one question: how can we be heard? And if you look at the competition out there and how the internet is being filled with information and filled with content, it's overwhelming and it's intimidating and it's so hard. And I'm not the kind of person to say, oh, well, it's hard, too bad. I want to figure it out, because today, even if you're great, that's not enough. You could be great and not get ahead. And so I started going down this rabbit hole about momentum. How do you build momentum? And so I started looking at research that really began in the 1960s about how momentum really works in people's lives. And are there lessons from these examples and this research? This is very famous research, but it hasn't been applied to everyday people and everyday lives and businesses. And I thought, you know what? This could really unlock something. And if you could sort of tame that and harness it and start using it to your advantage, maybe that'll be a way for us to get known and heard in the world.
So it's something that we did this year during the pandemic. So we're a healthcare copywriting and content strategy consultancy. And when the pandemic hit, and we're obviously lovers of plain language, when the pandemic hit, we immediately created a cheat sheet of everything that, terms that were now new to the American public that you needed to translate into plain language. And one of the reasons I did that was because I thought to myself, I am now in service to my audience. My audience is public health communicators, healthcare marketers. I am not going to be about my business anymore. I am going to be about service to my audience.
Right.
Is that one of the places that you saw that people shifted during the pandemic towards not thinking about what can I get out of it, but what can I contribute?
100%. And that's actually precisely what we all should have done. And what is great branding? What is great marketing? It's about building an emotional connection between what you do and your audience. Today, we are in a long-running crisis. It's not over. It's going to keep going for some time. There's going to be a lot of unintended consequences about the impact on lives, on health, on our economy, on behaviors. So we're not near the end of this yet. And what marketing really is today is rolling up your sleeves and helping people. That's what's going to create the emotional connection between what you do and your audience. They don't want to hear the words, "We're always with you," right? In these unprecedented times, we are with you. They want to know, what are you going to do for me? Show me. In fact, I wrote a blog post this week with some great examples of that, of people who just stopped everything and just rolled up their sleeves and said, okay, our community needs food and we make food, and we're going to donate 10,000 pounds of food a month till this thing is over. Just crazy things that are happening, because you just got to help people survive right now.
Do you believe that in 5 years from now, people will remember that? Do you think it's flash feelings? Do you think it really can future cement those relationships that brands have with their audiences, or do people have short memories?
No, this is a time not just to be a marketer, but to become legendary. I mean, that is the opportunity. And let me give you a quick story that illustrates this from early in my career. Before I was in marketing, I was in sales for Fortune 100 company, and I had a customer in Philadelphia. We were killing them. Our quality was so bad, we were shutting them down, but they kept buying from us. So I flew to Philadelphia and I met with the president of the company over lunch. And I said, I appreciate your loyalty, but why? Why don't you buy from someone else? He said, let me tell you why. Our company was started by my father. And during World War II, the greatest crisis of our time, we had to pivot to make equipment for the war effort, but we didn't have the money to do it. We didn't have the equipment to do it. We didn't have the technical know-how to do it. Your company loaned us the money, got us the equipment, and brought in the technical know-how for us to pivot and survive. And on my father's deathbed, he said, never leave Alcoa. They brought us to the dance, and we will never leave you. This is the greatest crisis of our lives. We are in a war, and we are creating, this is what we're going to talk about for the rest of our lives. What happened in this war? And as a business, as a marketer, as a person, we're creating a narrative right now. We're creating the story we're going to tell 10 years from now to our children and our grandchildren about what happened in the war. And we can say, we rolled up our sleeves and we helped people. Or we can say, oh, we told everybody we will be with you in these unprecedented times. I want to tell a story of courage and generosity and hope. And I think that's what we need to do in our companies and as marketers as well.
So in keeping with that theme, I read a phenomenal blog post of yours about ungating your content. And you said, stop doing it. It doesn't work. And it's time to set your content free. Yeah. And I read it and I thought to myself, Ahava, you said to yourself at the beginning of this that you wanted to be in service to people, and you created plain language cheat sheets, and you did all this great marketing, and all this great content that really helped people get through this and learn to communicate better. A vaccine cheat sheet, just ungate it. Just let people have it. Because the truth of the matter is that people download that stuff all the time and they never respond to our follow-up emails. They don't care. They got what they came for, and they want to move on with their lives. And if they want to do business with us, they now know who we are and they'll come to us. And it's so interesting because there were two things that happened. The first was people responded so positively to it. It was like that first burst of like, thank you so much for doing that. Good for you for doing it. Good. And the second thing that happened was that our downloads went up exponentially. People really just started downloading the content fast and furious because they didn't want to trade their email address. So do you think that I'm in a B2B world, right? In a B2B world, people are going to really embrace this ungating their content? Or do you think the executive push of, no, we need results, no, we need ROI, no, we need to know how this stuff really works? What do you think is going to happen in those larger organizations that aren't as nimble?
Well, it's really going to be determined by the culture of the company. I mean, that's really what determines everything ultimately. But the reason I wrote that article was to give a person like you the argument they could take to their boss and say, look, not only does this make common sense, but there's numbers behind this too, to show that most of the people who really want to connect with us, when they see that gated content, they're going to go away. And I know that's hard. Look, it's hard. It makes it a lot harder to measure. And you might have to use qualitative measures instead of quantitative measures. What I mean by that, a quantitative measure would say, we collected 5 email addresses. A qualitative measure might be, we just got this beautiful email from a customer saying, thank you so much for doing this. This means so much to me. There's value in that. Smart leaders will know that stories matter, that it doesn't have to be a number on a dashboard someplace.
Okay, so last question for you, Mark. You obviously have a strong crystal ball. Seems like you've predicted quite a number of things well. Where are we going to be in 18 months from now?
Number one is, I think that there are going to be some regulatory changes with social media platforms. I think everybody's under investigation and everybody's being sued, and there's issues with monopoly claims, monopolization, and oppressing competition. And this is actually something that both parties in America agree about. That there's too much power. It's the only thing they agree about. So I think something is going to happen in the next 18 months. So that is something to look at. Number two, there's this new technology that's emerging called synthetic content, where anybody can create fake videos and news that's Hollywood quality for almost no money and no skills. And this idea of being able to discern what is true is going to it's going to hit a crisis proportion. And it may take a crisis for the government to regulate some of this stuff. Pardon me?
They haven't had enough crises in this area?
No, well, the government, the people in the government don't understand enough about technology, generally speaking, to even ask the right questions right now.
Well, if so, how do you sustain a business model in which users don't pay for your service?
Senator, we run ads.
So it's going to take some crisis where something happens, somebody dies or gets murdered because of this synthetic content thing, and it's going to be coming at us soon. The third thing that I'm very optimistic about is that I wrote this book called The Marketing Rebellion: The Most Human Company Wins. So I suggest this entirely new way of thinking about marketing in the book, human-centric marketing. And a lot of people are saying with this pandemic, it's making this come true a lot faster. Gated content, perfect example. People hate it. If you're doing things that people hate, stop it. That's the first step towards human-centric marketing. And then look at what is going on in this cultural moment. How are we relevant in this cultural moment? And do something about it. Act on it. Show them what you mean to them right now.
Phenomenal. Okay, Mark, where can people find you?
Really easy. Businessesgrow.com. No one will remember how to spell Schaefer, but you can remember businessesgrow.com. And there you can find the books we've talked about today, my blog, my podcast, and lots of other cool, fun resources.
Yes, they are. They are a must read if you're in the marketing community, sales community, all that good stuff. So we didn't talk about content, the content code, which is also like a classic in content marketing, but Marketing Rebellion and Cumulative Advantage. Go buy them bundled up, read them, love them, share them, do all the things with them. Mark, thank you so much for being here. It was really lovely to have you.
Thank you. It's been a delight.